Hello, welcome to the Clemson Cooperative Extension Farm Account Book. And it's an Excel spreadsheet, and hopefully it'll be useful for you as kind of a baby step in between keeping your notes or your expenses in a paper and pencil method and halfway towards getting on the computer and using a computerized record keeping system. Basically, it's allocated into sheets, and each sheet has a tab, and you can see the first tab if you open up the booklet. You have to have Excel, so that would be one thing. If you have problems opening this, it may be that you do not have a license to Microsoft Windows or Office, so that might be something you need to think about. But first tab is the intro, and there's some brief instructions here, and not too much, but basically just says that that's how you want to open things up. The chart of accounts. First things these are just suggested accounts. You could actually use a different account name if you want. One thing to think about is really keep track of what would be helpful for you to manage your business. These are just suggestions. Like I mentioned, it does vary a little bit from Schedule F. So if you want it to be exactly like Schedule F, you can change it. And I actually changed something here. See the hauling expense for the cursor? I decided I didn't have a hauling expense and I wanted to keep track of car and truck expense. And so change that, and it changes all the way through the booklet. So be careful when you make changes, because it's going to change all your accounts in every month. Here's an example. I just filled in a couple expenses for March, and I wanted to show you how this works. If you've used a paper account book before, it's exactly the same. You would put in the item, you put in the amount, and then you'd actually put it in twice. So you put in the total amount here in the blue column, and then you would actually allocate where that expense goes into the columns to the right. The reason for that, we've got two in here. Johnny Seed at $254, that's all seeds in this example, so that just goes into one category. Whereas Agway, which is a defunct co-op in New York, so I'm able to use their name. What if I had two different things on the same receipt? So instead of entering the receipt 3 different times, just enter the receipt once to Agway, and let's say it was for fertilizer for $450 and supplies for $200. One thing that'll help you, if you scroll all the way over to the right-hand side, it actually checks your math. So if you didn't split up the Agway cost just right, it's going to say not okay or false. The other thing too is, if you look down at the bottom, the spreadsheet keeps a running total of all the expenses on each of those accounts, and also a running expense for your total month so far. So the expense totals or monthly expense totals, those are all tabulated for you. That'll be something you can actually go in and just double check. I find it's nice to have a couple different total pages. That way if you see something wrong, you can see which month it is and go back and check to see if you entered it right, things like that. You also have an income page. The rest of the pages that you saw were just expenses. Typically, we have more expense transactions than income transactions. We'll sell crops 2, 3, 4, 10 times a year, but not like 15, 20 times in a month, typically. You may actually have more if you're doing your own farmer's market, that sort of thing. You might actually record this on a daily basis. If so, give Kevin or myself a call and we'll modify this spreadsheet to accommodate you. But you can see we've got a couple different fields or crops here. You can enter in the amount, you can enter in the price per if you want. Whatever you think would make you have really good records for what you need. In fact, down here at the bottom, you can see row, feet, or acre. You can actually put in how many acres you might have, and it could actually could tell you your revenue per square foot, or I'm sorry, your row foot, or revenue per acre. So you'd have to actually decide what you want to put in there to see what you want to divide it by. There are things that you don't want to mix in with ordinary farm income, and a lot of times those are income items that may be things that aren't typically revenue from farm. In this example, we're selling a tractor, and that would be another one where you're selling an asset. So that's really not what your farm is in business for, right? So you're going to want to include these in a separate sheet, and that's under other income and sales. Likewise, if you have purchased assets during the year, you're going to want to keep track of those separate as well. And I have a little note up there. Be sure to give this page to your accountant. One of the things that a lot of farmers forget to do, they give the income, they give the expense, but they're like, oh, I forgot all the tractor and plow and whatever other purchases I had. So the accountant's going to want to help you with your depreciation schedule on this. We're hoping to do a part 2 of this video where Kevin can explain about some depreciation methods you might consider if you want to try it at home. I would say that's more of an advanced class. Finally, the last sheet is going to summarize your income and expenses from this sheet. So whatever you've put in so far, it's going to summarize. You can see that I had some crop sales as an example. I had that tractor sale as an example. So I have some income of $5,100, and I have that Agway and Johnny Seed purchase that I used as an example. So this farm's looking pretty good, you know, $4,196 operating income. One thing about this, again, I said we've got asset sales and other things mixed in. What you really want to use this page for is kind of a running cash flow. You want to see if you're trending negative or positive. And if you're like most farms, you expend a lot of income, or you expend a lot of money first, and then later on in the year you actually have sales. So this might be helpful for that. I'm sure some of you might have some additional questions or modifications that you'd like for this spreadsheet. Feel free to reach out to either one of us. Our emails, I'm Steve Richards. My email's here on the page. Same with Kevin's. Email us anytime. We'll get with you as soon as we can. Thanks.